here and top us up, because
I will not argue with you.
Coffee.
Megan says, yes, coffee. I need to drink a shitload of my coffee so I can get the most out of this trip.
Oh, wow. Apparently everybody agrees with the coffee.
Our audience keeps saying happy faff, and it just doesn't sound right when you say the words.
Yeah, it does. Sounds great.
Happy faff. Boston Strong is back.
Love it.
Hey, Boston! I heard they reintroduced the building elements to Fortnite. Congratulations. I'm not a Fortnite player, but apparently that's a thing. TGI Faff. Oh, I've got Sergeant Major says, morning, men. And Sergeant Major, yes, indeed. In fact, one of the things we'll be talking about this morning is men and the need for them. So
push the button.
Let's go ahead and do this. All right, good morning. And Dan, I'm glad you clarified that it is your coffee dripping. Otherwise, I might have suggested you seek medical attention. So, Boston says the Brooklyn shooting is exactly why we need less strict gun laws. If New York got like Texas, someone could have stopped the terrorist. Just my opinion. That is not your opinion, Boston Strong. In fact, I will go so far as to say that that is a verifiable fact.
What's also his opinion?
There has been one mass shooting in not a gun-free zone, and that was the Lubies in Texas, and it barely qualifies as a mass shooting because, when they say mass shooting, the FBI definition of mass shooting, there's not a legal definition of mass shooting, but the FBI's definition of mass shooting is 3 or more injured by the gunshots, right? That's not dead. That's actually struck. And there are a lot more mass shootings than are reported because, quite simply, when you have black-on-black crime or gang crime where there's a drive-by and 3 or more people are injured, it never makes headlines.
I like how he
just... we want to forget about that.
I like how he just got right to the point, though. Like, if New York got like Texas, someone could have stopped the terrorist. Note, he said terrorist.
He did.
We have no idea what his motive is.
He did.
What's his motive? I'm looking for a motive. Where's his motive?
And real quick, I need to do this right now before I get deep into the story and forget. I see Tim Lowry has joined us this morning. Haven't seen you watching the show in a while, brother. And it's good to have you with us live. Do me a favor and give me a call. If you don't have my number, get it from the Smudge, and he'll hook you up. I've gotten involved with a watershed project locally, and I could use a little. I could use a consult. So give me a call sometime today if you get a chance, and I hope to talk to you soon. And also, October can't come soon enough. I miss you, baby.
Yeah. So and apparently our moderator he can't stick around for very long because his wife is in Ireland for a divorce celebration.
Oh, there it's.
Like you go to. You go to Ireland for. I mean. First of all, you're celebrating a divorce. It's a little weird, but like, okay, I'll go to Miami. Okay, Ireland? Like, I need a passport. Like,
Well, I imagine divorce, like so many other things, is one of those things where no matter how much you think it's not what you wanted to do, by the time you get there, there's at least part of you that wants to do it. One never does anything that one doesn't want to do on some level, even if that want is coerced and involuntary. There has to be a want there. And I have known some people with coming to the end of their marriages that really, really wanted to get that divorce. My Uncle Bobo used to quip. He was a lawyer. He handled some divorces.
No.
He used to say, hey, you know why divorces are so expensive? No, why, Bo? Because they're worth it. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, look, I'll just say it. I can kind of speak from personal experience. At the beginning of my divorce, I did not want it. But once I realized it was going to happen, it's sort of like when you've got, like all the analogies about a rotten tooth or ripping off a Band-Aid.
Right.
Like, once you know it's going to happen, like, oh, it needs to just happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's kind of like popping a pimple.
I suddenly feel guilty that I didn't throw you a big divorce party.
You didn't take me to Ireland?
Yeah, that's not happening. Although the next time Mario's in town, maybe we should just do a joint one.
Ha.
It won't be Lent.
Oh, dear.
At least it better not be, you son of a bitch. Get up here. I see Jen, my cousin, has joined, and...
Happy birthday.
I forgot to call you on your birthday. I'm so sorry. Happy birthday. Love you. Can't wait to see you Sunday. We are going into... That is this weekend, right? Easter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Boy, you threw me for a loop there.
So our Catholic will be inebriated come Monday evening. I'm certain of it. Love you, brother. And so, boy, that's a lot more engagement with the chat than we usually afford. But like I was saying last week on Firearms Friday, and this week's a little bit different because we are going to talk about the Brooklyn subway shooting a bit. So I did go ahead and pepper the construct of the show with the appropriate search engine optimization. Did a little bit more work on it than I normally would for a Friday. But as a general rule, the Friday show is supposed to be a little lighter, a little more fun, and more for the core audience. Those of you that watch habitually most often. And Boston Strong, I don't see you in our chats as often as a lot of these other guys, but I see you often enough that I definitely consider you to be part of that core audience, and I'm glad that you're with us this morning.
Oh, hey, speaking of, make sure you stop the stream today.
Oh, did I forget to stop the stream yesterday?
Yeah, we got like a 2.5 hour stream.
Oh, well, shit happens.
Only the first 30 minutes of it was, like, it was just black screen.
The first 30 minutes was black screen, or?
No.
Okay, after the
first 30 minutes, yeah. Then it was just black screen. And Steve's going ahead and front-loading his excuses for why he can't do his job. I bet he still moderates for Polytech, though.
Yeah, bitch. Love you. So
when your side girl is better than your actual wife, there you go.
Ouch.
Like the... See? Anyhow. Now to talk about all the really dark and disturbing shit.
Yeah, let's get dark for a minute. Speaking of dark, so on Tuesday, a black supremacist shot up a subway in Brooklyn. But they got the guy. They caught him.
Sort of.
And Okay.
It's a generous use of the word caught.
Yesterday, we were having a business lunch with somebody. I'm not going to go into that too much, but we were at this business, at a lunch about some business. And there was, and brother, if you're watching, take it how you do. There was a story on the news about
Loganville High School.
About Loganville High School, right down the street from us, where apparently one adult and three teens have been arrested in a case where they shoved a kid into a bathroom, yelled a bunch of homophobic slurs at him, and I guess doused him with chemicals. So, I didn't get the full details of the story, but we had a brief conversation at the table where the guy that we were having lunch with asked the question, why aren't they releasing, why have there been no descriptions or names released? And he made it a point to point out that one of these people has been charged as an adult. Your parents have nothing to say now. At least his information should be released, the description, et cetera, et cetera. And brother, it was all I could do to just say, no, we know why. We know exactly why the details haven't been released. Because it wasn't 4 white students wearing sheets over their heads.
Yes. Yeah, there was some type of other.
They were, right. They were something other than white.
Well, I remember when this, to your point, I remember when this thing with the Brooklyn subway shooting first came out. And they were like, oh, yeah, he's heavy set and about 5.5 feet tall. And I'm like, I'm not hearing the one description, the one that would be the most helpful. So he's not white.
Yeah, so there's this thing called heuristics. It's a basic categorization mechanism. If you walk into the chips aisle and you don't know what you want, you can stand there forever and stare at the wall. But if you know you want Doritos, you just haven't decided between Cool Ranch and Nacho yet, you can walk in there and immediately go, boom, there's the Doritos. Now, your choice making has just been limited enormously. Kierkegaard said God despairs in his infinity because of his dearth of finitude, because it's impossible to make choices without restrictions. So if you're looking for a person in a crowd, let's remember they failed to arrest this man for at least 24 hours. And that is at least in part due to the lack of heuristics applied to try and select him from a crowd. Now, you tell the people, well, here's the description. The skin color, forget all your hang-ups about prejudice and racism, etc., etc. If you're trying to pick a person out of a crowd, and you can eliminate large swaths of the crowd for your heuristic selection by having the one most obvious feature other than height, and even height is not a significant heuristic in a crowd of humans unless the person is extraordinarily tall. Right? If you say, oh, well, he's 6.5 feet tall,
or extraordinarily short,
that's just narrowed. Well, if he's extraordinarily short, you can't see him in a crowd.
Okay, fine, whatever. It's
but if he's sticking up out of the crowd like a sore thumb, it's like he's the head that's above all the other ones. Boom, got him. If the skin color is easy to picture, is easy to see. Okay, you got 100 people, and it's half and half black and white. Boom. I only need to look at the other 50% of the people to try and apply the other heuristics: height, weight, etc. I almost said eye color, but that's a non-starter in this case.
Okay, so it's being pointed out in the chat that it's Brooklyn. There's a lot of black folks in that area. This is true. However, there's two things that are important to note, okay? It is still the single most identifiable characteristic, okay? Like, if you were to see this guy walking down the street and you thought about what he looked like in your mind, you'd say, oh, that's a black guy, right? That's what you would say. So, leaving off the description of of the thing that would come to your mind, in and of itself is not helpful, even if there are a whole lot of other black guys in the pool to choose from. And then the second thing that's important is the whole thing about the message, the narrative, and all of that. Like, this guy, as you pointed out, was a terrorist, and the FBI is still looking for a motive. Like, what? We don't know why he did this. But this guy is a terrorist. He was a racial supremacist terrorist. And the lack of mention of his skin tone at this point is... it's insulting, honestly, because it's so in your face. Like, oh yeah, he's not white, so la la la, we're just not gonna mention his race because only white people can be racist. And look, you really narrow in on the message, and in this case in particular, how big of a problem this is with this guy in particular. Okay? Because it's supposed to be white people that do this, right? They will forever tell you about a Charlottesville rally where Trump said there are very fine people on both sides and take that out of context so that there can be this vast white supremacist plot, right? But when you've got actual black supremacists that do things like run people over with trucks, and it turns out like make references to running people over with trucks on social media for years before the event.
Right.
Or in this case, where you got a guy that goes and shoots up a subway, and it kind of turns out for years leading up to the event, he's made references about kill Whitey.
And the FBI was tracking on that.
Yeah, and so the lack of the description, it's not just that it's not helpful. It is deliberately harmful to omit the description because there are so many narratives that this runs counter to. And to not give the most obvious description, because we all know, right? If this guy was white, not only would white guy be in the description, but you wouldn't have to get more than 2 or 3 paragraphs down in every article on CNN and ABC and Yahoo News and all that, and it'd be like, with an online history of white supremacy and anti-Semitism that goes back for several years.
And if he didn't have that online history, if he didn't have those videos out there declaring his ideological adherence to his supremacism, he's a white guy, it would be assumed, and that would be in the headline.
Right.
And we don't have to presuppose this. We're not guessing at this. We have a track record of this coming out of our news media. It's painfully obvious that there's this bizarre and counterfactual maneuver to create this idea that there is significant white supremacy in America and that it is causing mass violence. I challenge you to list the mass violence that's actually been connected to the white supremacy. The closest you can get is if you can get your head around the mental gymnastics required to assume that the Charlottesville incident, which included one fatality, was absolutely
circumstances.
Was absolutely provably a situation of pure white supremacy and otherwise unrelated to people being annoyed and offended by the destruction of historical artifacts, which is what in fact was going on at the time. That's your one. That's your one, basically, in recent memory.
You could argue the Dylan Roof case, though the kid was weird, man. He believed a race war was going to come no matter what, so Let's go ahead and kick it off. Which, still racist, but when you look at, the big picture, not only is there scant evidence of the white supremacy thing, there's actually a whole lot of evidence of the black supremacy thing, but no, we're not gonna talk about that.
Right.
And meanwhile, the FBI is still looking for a motive.
And here's the other thing because it's Firearms Friday, here's how we bring it all back together. I want to remind you guys, this also occurred on a New York subway. Y'all remember this little gym? Yeah, it just punches the shit out of her. Right? Dude just... And I'll grant they were arguing already. She told him to take a chill pill. And he just punches her. Right? And nothing happened. Nothing happened to the guy. Oh, I think there was a police investigation later which had no results, which turned up nothing substantial. But more importantly, where were the men? Now, it's Firearms Friday, and one of the things we talk about is why you should be armed and the correct use of firearms, et cetera, et cetera. This is not... That example right there is not one... I'm not saying that somebody should have shot him. But a grown-ass man should have stood up for that little girl. Right? A grown-ass man should have at least gotten in between the two of them and said something. Whoa, that's not cool. At least put a stop to it.
Okay,
Now, ideally, what I would have liked to have seen is somebody beat the absolute shit out of him.
Okay, so there's two options, right? One, New York's a liberal city, and like the left seems bound and determined to emasculate all the traditional male characteristics.
Correct.
Right? And it could just be that, you beat a dog long enough and it acts like a beat dog.
Correct.
Okay, it could just be that. There's another possibility. The men on the subway train heard the whole exchange between the man and the woman. When she got popped, they went, "I'm looking that way."
That's possible. When I was looking for that video, I did see another one that was labeled "Man slaps woman on subway." I was like, I couldn't tell which video it was, so I watched it. And in all fairness, in that one, this guy is probably 6.5 feet tall, or a great big old tall, slender guy. I think he was Asian. Mm-hmm. And there's these 5 black women on the bus or on the train, and they're screaming at him and yelling at him, and then one of them slaps him in the face, and then one of them slaps the phone out of his hand, and then one of them slaps him in the face again, and then he slapped the absolute ever-living aspirations out of the one that hit him last. And in that case, I thought, no, he's good. That's reasonable. And he didn't ball up a fist and punch her in the head, right? He didn't choose to cause lasting harm. He just slapped her. Now he slapped the shit out of her.
Look, that's not the... All right.
But stuff like that goes down because there are no men to stop it. And that's been part of... There have been 2 major things that have led us in this direction. The constant intentional emasculation of the rugged individual American man. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You see this in Family Guy, American Dad, The Simpsons, Everybody Loves Raymond. Pick your TV show. The man who is not is not divorced, is not a perpetual bachelor, is not a billionaire playboy. The man that is the common American man, right? Wife, 2.5 kids, 1.5 cars, white picket fence. The common man is a fat, stupid drunkard.
A loser.
He's
with a wife who's near flawless.
He has a shitty job. He hates his job. He resents his family for requiring him to perform the job. And that is they talk about, oh, there's all these negative stereotypes of minorities and blah, 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 blah. There are no more clear examples of a constantly repeated negative stereotype than the stupid white guy that keeps going to work because he's too stupid to not keep going to work, and he resents his family for it. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So We're coming to the end of the show, and we've barely talked about the thing.
Oh, we've talked about it pretty. No. We've talked about this and everything leading up to it. And let's not forget the FBI has been tracking on this guy and his. Okay. When we say the FBI has been tracking on this guy, they've got him on a watch list. They've watched his YouTube videos. He has said, "I intend to shoot people on the subway." And he's even gone so far as to be very clear that what's happening.
I'm looking for a motive.
Yep. He's been very clear that he intends to kill people en masse on the subway because he's black and they are white, and he hates them for being different than him. Which is to say, he is a black supremacist. Was it Michael C. Hall was the one recently with the manifesto that talked about using the N-word with the hard R and the superior
man, I don't know.
race.
And I'm disturbed by the fact that I'm only 40 years old and I'm already running out of brain space for bullshit like that, because I vaguely remember the thing that you're talking about, but I think that's one of those things
We
where,
did a show about it.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I vaguely remember the thing that you're talking about, but I feel like that's one of those things where my brain went, nope.
I want to say that was in January, but okay, so you got a watch list, and we joke amidst our friends, if you're not at least on 2 or 3 watch lists, if you're not at least on 2 watch lists, you're just not even trying, right? Do you even want liberty? And this is not the first time that we've seen a mass shooter with a history of declaring his intentions and his motives explicitly, right? Like, intent is one of the hardest things to prove in a court of law. But if you've recorded yourself explicitly stating, I intend to X, Y, and Z
over and over
for
again,
these reasons.
Like 24 hours before the shooting, he uploaded a fresh video talking about how, like, I promise I'm not even gonna say certain things that he said, but he basically said all racial groups hate all racial groups. I think that's a safe way to put it.
And the FBI did nothing. Now, if there's nothing else that we can take away from this whole situation, we should take this away. The FBI watch lists and the mere existence of the FBI is an active infringement of your Fourth Amendment civil liberties without profit.
Well, I mean, at this...
Well, the old adage, Franklin said, those who will trade away their freedom for security deserve neither. Mm-hmm. In this case, when you look at the FBI, what we have done is we have traded away our freedom and gained nothing by it. And that's very, very clear. We have traded away our freedom to the FBI for security, and the result has been that we now have neither. Because the FBI does not do the job that we expect them to do. The FBI runs cover for the Clintons, fabricates evidence in order to try and create a false narrative to indict a young man who was clearly engaged in self-defense in the Rittenhouse case, has no qualms about sending all the feds in the world to investigate the obvious fallacious claims in the Bubba Wallace case around the NASCAR noose hoax. There is no reason for the FBI to continue to exist, and I'll take that a step further. The FBI has been so corrupted by China and the Democrat National Committee, which are essentially the same entity, that the FBI should be considered a national security threat.
Tim, not quite prepared to go down that rabbit hole yet, but you make interesting points. And look, they had the same FBI, okay? They somehow lost the Rittenhouse footage and lost Hunter Biden's laptop, right? I have no idea where that laptop is. Oh, okay, cool. I have a copy of it. Let's introduce it into evidence. Well, time out. Time out.
And Nadler popped. I object.
Right? Same FBI.
To the introduction of evidence into an investigation.
But they got that evil noose that attacked Bubba Wallace, didn't
boy,
they?
oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, they got it. They got it. And that's, like, the level of contempt that I personally have for the FBI at this point, you know? Like, I loved watching the X-Files as I was a kid. Like, you know, Fox Mulder worked for the X-Files FBI division, right? You know, like, it's kind of sad to... Oh, wow. It's kind of sad to live long enough and simultaneously see the evolution of information in real time that allows for my heroes to die before my eyes. Because yikes. But
yeah, Burt Gummer doesn't seem all that crazy anymore.
No, he doesn't. Like the older I get, the smarter Alex Jones seems. But anyhow, look, if some more information comes out that could point to why this stinks, we'd be willing to tackle that. But I'll just read his comment, because he rents a U-Haul in his name, drops an IED, shoots folks, somehow picks a train where the cameras don't work, drops his gun, his credit card and keys. The whole thing stinks. And look, that I have to admit, I heard that on the radio yesterday, that he dropped his credit card. Like, what, did he decide to order fucking DoorDash like in the middle of his assault? Like, okay, that's not weird at all.
No.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I might find it a little harder to believe if we didn't have the story about Hunter Biden ditching his gun in the trash can next to the middle school, but
look, no, actually, look, you want to know the biggest piece of evidence that this whole thing could have been, you know, like a plant or a really, really dark as hell, like Black Flag psyop kind of thing.
Where to get the smoke grenade?
No, not even that. Think about how many people in the Whitmer case were some flavor of FBI informant. Over 50% of the potential defendants turns out work for the federal government.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't a plot.
Way over.
Yeah, like, that wasn't a plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. That was an FBI, like, plant.
Well, January 6th, same thing. We now know from court filings that at least 20 of the so-called January 6th rioters were FBI resources. They weren't all agents. Some of them were like informants and stuff like that.
Look, and Steve points out, that's another thing that's bizarre. So no casino cameras for the Vegas shooter, no jail cams for Epstein, and now this.
Yeah, where's all the security footage for this guy?
Well, I don't know.
There isn't any.
Look, nonetheless, it's Firearms Friday, so let's bring the point home. You know what stops guys like this? Armed citizens.
Armed men.
Where was that church? Was it in Alabama where the guy walked into the church?
No, that was in Texas.
The guy walked into a church with a shotgun, started blowing people away.
And half the church stood up and took shots, but there was that one old boy that had his
the
AR-15.
firearms instructor.
Yeah, firearms instructor, AR-15,
took a
headshot over the crowd. And he went on Crowder, and they had a great conversation about that, because in a gunfight, you're not looking for a headshot. Headshots are flashy and elaborate, and that's just not the one you want, because it's a hard shot to take. That said, you aim center mass because you have a much higher probability of nailing that shot. But that guy, he had to take the headshot because he had to fire over a panicking crowd. And the fact that he was able to draw and take that shot, that's some amazing shooting.
Yeah, which means his balls have their own gravitational orbit. Like he doesn't need to stand on the opposite side of the planet or the moon or fuck up the tides, right? But Tim says, how damn stupid do they think we are? I don't think they think we're stupid per se. I think they just have such utter contempt for us. We're lesser. It's not necessarily that we're dumb. We just don't know what they know.
No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it at all. I think it's more correct. We are not the ones over whose eyes the enemy attempts to pull the wool. The common citizen is too busy to pay attention to all the news. They're way too busy to get their heads around all of the minutia around the more suspicious activities.
Well, we're way too busy to pay attention to everything.
But we take the time and make a point of looking into specific stories and getting more information so that we can produce a show like this.
But it requires extra
average
effort.
Citizen, it does. It requires extra effort, and the average citizen doesn't have that. Doesn't do that. Doesn't even go so far as to look for shows like this where we do it for you. For free, by the way. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that share button. I don't think there's anybody in here who's not already subbed, but make sure you share this everywhere you can, because growing this show helps to extend the reach and spread that message. And as always, if we're not here, we're on Rumble. Go find us on Rumble Live as well. But the elite, our globalist masters,
the Wizards of Smart,
they understand that the majority of people out there don't have the headspace or the time to get their heads around the absolute screw job that is going on this planet today. And they rely on that complacency and that lethargy to subvert your liberty and your very individual security, and to take that from you. The objective is to make slaves of you. And we forget that at our peril.
Anyhow,
we're over, and I gotta go to work.
Yep. Safety brief.
We're going into the weekend. It is Easter weekend. I don't know that there are any particular dangers that I can think of for Easter weekend, except for maybe this. I've seen Easter egg hunt events that are done in like public parks and the like, and this is what I would advise you to be especially mindful of. If you take your children to an Easter egg hunt in a public place where there's a lot of children doing the Easter egg hunt, that is a very tempting, target-rich environment for all sorts of groomers, kidnapping, and when you're talking about that kind of target of opportunity kidnapping, there will not be demands, there will not be a ransom note, there will not be contact. Your child will vanish into the world of human trafficking. I'm not saying there's a high degree of possibility. I'm saying it's the most likely risk that you're likely to see elevated in that sort of an environment. And so it is definitely important that you be mindful of it.
Right.
Be mindful, be aware, use your situational awareness, and be armed.
Right.
Always and everywhere without exception.
I was gonna make a comparison to, like, you can't get attacked by a shark unless you swim in the ocean, even though you're not likely to get attacked by a shark, even if you swim in the ocean. But then when you were like, and be armed everywhere, I'm like, brother, I'm not taking my gun out into the Atlantic. That's probably, if I'm in the water, like if I'm on a boat, yeah, but like,
well, I have a special gun for that.
Yeah, but can you fit a spear gun in like a holster?
No. You just wear like it's a belt with a ring, and you have like a carabiner hook on it.
Okay, all right.
I mean, you're going to hip fire the thing anyway.
Fair enough.
If a shark's attacking, you don't have time to aim.
Fair enough.
You're just looking for a bite of that ass.
So's the shark.
And steaks. So's the shark. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we'll see you Monday.